Hello, everyone. First of all, sorry for not being doing the last few Q&As. I think it was the last 2 Mondays. Reason why I didn't do it, it was because one day was a holiday here, Anzac Day. That's one of the most important holidays of the country. Anzac Day is the day where they commemorate people that lost their lives in the First World War. Australian and New Zealand armies were part of that event, where many of them lost their lives, and it was a national holiday, and that's why I was not doing that Q&A. And the other day, I don't remember why I didn't do it, but yeah, I really missed not doing the Q&A. So for today, what I'm going to be talking about is mainly I want to answer your questions. I really want to answer your questions. So please ask me whatever it is that you want to ask me. I'm going to answer the question, or of course, if I have the information, but if not, I'll try to find it out for the next Q&A. But in the meantime, until someone asks the first question, I'm going to be talking about which are the most demanded jobs in New Zealand when it comes to the IT industry. The reason why I'm saying this is because many people in my channel, they ask me about different other jobs like construction or fruit picking and things like that. Unfortunately, I don't have information on those topics, on those industries. So that's why I don't answer those questions. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't think I have enough information in order to give accurate information. So today I'm going to be talking about which are the most demanded jobs. Mainly the most demanded jobs are also the kind of jobs that I recruit for my clients. And the number one most demanded job in New Zealand currently is probably software developers, software engineers, programmers, back-end developer, front-end developer, you name it. Those are the most demanded jobs. Also, I think that those are the most easiest jobs to get because, again, because it's so demanded, they eventually will consider candidates from all over the world. Of course, not currently because it's New Zealand borders are closed. But yes, I have to say that I have had in the last 5 months a few clients recruiting software developer from overseas. Indeed, I'm going to get confirmation soon of a few software developer roles that I'm going to be hiring remotely. So I will let you know. But yeah, software developers are the roles that are on most demand. A few weeks ago, a person sent me a LinkedIn message asking which are the technologies that are on most demand. So that it's something you can do as well. You feel free to send me an email or a LinkedIn messages asking your questions, and I'm going to be answering your questions on my Q&A. So some other people also can get the answers for those questions. Usually people ask similar questions, so that's what I'm going to be answering. Hi, Nicolas. Thanks for being with us today again. If you have any question, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I'm going to give a little bit more of details of which are the roles in software engineering that are most demanded. In New Zealand, usually they will ask for full stack developers. They're going to be asking usually for back-end developers or front-end developers. Which are the technologies or the programming languages that are on most demand in New Zealand for the back end is C#.net. Probably that's the most demanded programming language in New Zealand. And I have said in the past in one of my videos that it's mainly because Microsoft has their offices in New Zealand to test quite a lot of their new products. And because of that, they also have agreements with, I believe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I believe that they have agreements with the education institution and with government. So because most people are using or are used to use Microsoft, then they are choosing that in the companies. So C#.net, it's what it's on most demand in New Zealand. Most companies are using that programming languages for the backend. After that probably comes Java, Spring Boot, Spring. It's usually what they use the most for frameworks. Also, something that has been on quite demand recently has been Node.js as a language. No, it's not even a language, but in order to talk with the servers. But Node.js, it's quite popular as well. Again, when it comes to a matter of volume of open roles, C#.NET probably is the most. You will find the most job opportunities there. But Node.js is something that it's very demanded, and not many people have a solid experience with Node.js or extensive experience. Some companies usually are open to software developers that they have experience with other programming languages and they have recently moved to Node, even though if you don't have a lot of experience, still they're open to that. But yes, you will have, again, to prove that you have good skills. And usually, again, when it comes to any role, the most important thing is that you can show them that you know why you are using the tools or programming languages that you're using. It's not enough just to say that you have the experience. You need to explain like the best practices that you are using. That could be like whatever, DevOps culture, agile culture, could be a way of documenting the information or using like newest way of doing things like continuous integration, continuous deployment, and stuff like that. But yeah, so also PHP, Laravel framework, it's very popular in New Zealand if you're going to be looking for a job as a software engineer. And also C++, there's not a lot of opportunities, but everything that it's more kind of embedded software, C++ or C, again, not too many companies hiring for that, but still you can find jobs in that area with programming languages like that. And just a few of job opportunities for maybe Python or Ruby on Rails. Usually what happens here is that that when open roles are coming to the market with Python and Ruby on Rails, usually if you're a Ruby on Rails or Python developer, you will have great job opportunities because there's very few people using those programming languages in New Zealand. So probably you will have an opportunity to negotiate on salary there quite well because there's not too many people. So then that's usually what it's most demanded for backend programming languages. Top of the list, C#.NET, Java, Node for JavaScript, PHP, Laravel, C++, a little bit of C, and Python and Ruby, definitely not so popular, but you will still be able to find job opportunities there. Hi, Andres. Thanks for being with us here today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So for front-end software engineers, and I'm going to include mobile engineers here as well, the three most popular frameworks or libraries for New Zealand are React, Angular, and Vue.js. Those are the three most popular ones. Probably React and Angular are the two more popular ones, and third it comes Vue. Many companies are starting to use Vue, so definitely there you'll have a lot of opportunities. Most of the time, it's hard to find pure front-end developer roles. Usually, I see two kind of companies hiring for front-end developers. You have software product houses that they have a product looking for front-end developers, and there they will want someone that has strong experience with JavaScript and a few of the frameworks or libraries that they have shared, like React, Angular, or Vue. And then you have other roles that they're other companies that they're going to be hiring for front-end developers that usually they look also for people very skilled with HTML, CSS, and kind of like eye to the pixel, and someone that has some experience in doing some kind of design. Again, they don't want a designer, but yes, they will ask you for your portfolio and what things you have done. So they're going to be looking for people with way more experience with CSS and HTML and maybe a little bit of JavaScript. But usually digital agencies or UX and UI agencies, they're going to be looking for those kind of front-end developers. And sometimes, again, as I said just a few minutes ago, talking about front-end development, we can include mobile there. React Native, it has been quite popular currently and lately in New Zealand. So if you're a React Native developer, definitely you'll have very good opportunities. Some other companies are hiring quite a lot for iOS or Android developers. Again, a lot of banks, insurance companies, and also product houses like Xero or TradeMe are usually looking for mobile developers. Again, when we go to agencies, digital agencies or design agencies, they can also be looking for mobile developers. Sometimes they hire for people that have a hybrid kind of platforms experience. PhoneGap, I believe that it's one of them, or some others. So yeah, those, when it comes to software development, usually that's what it's most popular. Also, when it comes to back-end developers, usually they're going to be looking for someone that also has some experience with CI/CD, with Kubernetes, with Docker, with Jenkins, or exposed to cloud like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. Usually AWS and Azure, it's what it's most popular. But yes, they will want you to at least know what are the different services that these platforms are offering and how to manipulate a little bit of them. And then, of course, if you have way more experience, that's going to be very beneficial. So Andres' question, I live in Auckland, but I have been outside IT for 3 years. How can I prove that I'm still competent as a software developer? So Andres, my recommendation is for you to have a project where you can show your skills, a GitHub link or a Git bucket or whatever it is that you can show to people when you're applying to jobs. I highly recommend you to have your project. I highly recommend you to have everything very nice and tidy and in the best professional way there. So when people have a look at your jobs, the piece of software or the code that you have done, you're going to be able to prove yourself. Again, I highly recommend you to have some kind of a side project, let's say imitate a software application that maybe already exists, but do it by your own. So you can also include that on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. So people like me, recruiters, can find you and see that you are currently working in software development, even though if it's for your own. And it's a project that it's not making any money, the important thing is that you can show them that you are on weekly basis working on software development. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're being paid or not. The important thing is that you're building something that it's equivalent to the kind of work that you would be doing for a company. So that's how I believe that you should be showcasing your experience, by having a project where you're able to share your GitHub, or even better as well, at the same time sharing a software application that they can use, that being web or mobile, but definitely something that they can see and that you can showcase on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. So that's are the jobs that are on most demand in New Zealand: software engineers, software developers, backend development, front-end development. That's usually what it's most demanded. If you're a database developer, from time to time you can find those job opportunities. SQL, probably it's the database that it's more used in New Zealand, but of course then you have other companies using MySQL or MongoDB or other data non-relational databases as well. Second, probably you would be able to find there's a huge demand for UX and UI designers. When it comes to UX designer, usually they are looking for people that are able to run workshops, that are able to do a little bit of research, customer research. They're going to be able to do some A/B testing. That they're going to be able to go through the discovery process of what the customer is going to be needing, or the customer, being a company or being an end user, doing that kind of testing. At the same time that they will want you to be able to do wireframing and also to be doing a little bit of design as well. Not as sharp when it comes to the pixel, when it comes to UI design, but yes, they will ask you to do that as well. When it comes to UI design as well, here they will want you to, again, as a UX designer or UX/UI designer or whatever, or just UI designer, they will ask you for a portfolio. Make sure that you have a very nice portfolio, that it's, again, the most professional as possible. If you're a UX designer, include the case of what you were doing with that client or in that piece of work, describing the process, the tools and techniques that you are doing or using, and not just the end work, but also the process when it comes to UX. If you're looking for UI design, make sure that you have something to show that it's quite impressive. Again, if you haven't done that for any company or in any commercial job, try to find a project of your own that you can share your skills as a UI designer. There are some people that they have been working in companies where they were not able to work on something that was kind of like very, very kind of UI from a point of view of like very polished design. Try to do something on your own, because most of the time for UX UI designers, the portfolio, it's everything. When it comes to a job application. So definitely make sure you have a very well done portfolio. I highly recommend to go to any of the Google openings, and they, for all the UX or UI designers, they open roles, they describe what they expect to see in their in the candidate's portfolio. So definitely I highly recommend you to go have a look there and try to do your portfolio as the way that Google asks for portfolio. Probably it's gonna help you for your job search, at least. So Nicolas, you have a question. UX UI designers earn salaries like developers? My girlfriend needs a yeah. So UX UI designers usually earn very competitive salaries. Maybe less than software developers, depending the case. Like, I have seen UX designers earning $120,000 a year, but usually UX UI designers, again, usually the higher the salary, probably it will bring more knowledge with UX as well. If you're a UI designer, maybe the salaries are not going to be as high as if you have UX skills as well. But usually the salary range of a UX designer, intermediate UX designer, will go from $80,000 to $100,000. I'm talking about New Zealand dollars. And if you're looking for a job as a senior UX UI designer, probably you're talking about between 100 to 120. Then, of course, if you have a lot of experience when it comes to strategy, or when it comes to building design systems and being able to set a strategy for the design for the company, probably you can go from 120 to 140. But usually those roles are more for lead designers or UX strategists and things like that. But yeah, salaries for UX and UI designers are very competitive as well. So another job that it's usually quite that it's quite on demand in New Zealand is everything related to infrastructure. But everything related to infrastructure when it comes to cloud. When it comes to DevOps. I have seen many people coming from different countries where they were quite experienced on on-premise infrastructure. And usually usually there's not too many job opportunities in roles for system engineers. Or let's put it this way, it's not very competitive, and there's a lot of people doing it. So it's going to be hard to get a job because there's a lot of competition. Said that, if you're a system engineer or infrastructure engineer that has a lot of experience on-premise infrastructure, and you have moved to cloud with Azure or with AWS, and you have some certifications or you have experience, proven commercial experience, then there you're going to be very, very competitive to get a job. Again, there are many services that AWS and Azure provides, so I highly recommend you to go on LinkedIn or Seek or Trade Me and see what are the things that they're asking for DevOps or cloud engineers or infrastructure engineers. Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins are tools that usually are asked quite a lot. And of course, Bash or Shell for scripting, and also probably you need to know quite well one programming language. That could be JavaScript, that could be Java or C#.NET. Usually it's what they're going to ask when they're looking for a infrastructure engineer or a DevOps or a cloud engineer. That's something you want to take care of if you're looking a job in that area. Then, of course, there are also quite a lot of demand for product owners or business analysts. As a product owner or business analyst, it's very important that you have an understanding of the agile practices or the Scrum practices. You might have been doing in your company agile practices or Scrum like framework, and maybe not in the original way, but yes, you know how it works and you have been doing that kind of way. I think it's very important in this case that you're going to be able to use the same language that the company use when they are using agile, because it's going to be way easier to talk about user stories instead of explaining that you are doing user stories, but it was not user stories because it was not agile or Scrum for the requirements. I think that's the most important thing. But yeah, product owners, very important. Again, if you're looking for a job in a product company, it's going to be important that you show them that you have experience in building products and not just systems. And if you're in a company that it's building systems for internal use, that you're going to be able to understand how a bigger corporation works. But again, product owners, business analysts, again, they are very competitive when it comes to salaries. Intermediate product owners probably go between 85 to 100K, then 100 to 20 for senior product owner roles, and even more, probably 120 to 140 if they're looking for a product owner that is / a product manager as well, or depending some areas like payments or fintechs or those kind of things. Usually product owners earn between 140 and 150. But again, you'll have to prove your experience if you're a product owner in that area. Then I don't do a lot of recruitment in this area, but there's quite a demand for roles like data scientists or data engineers. Data engineers, usually they're going to be looking for someone that has quite experience in specific databases like SQL or non-relational databases. Many times they're also going to be looking, depending the company and the role, they're going to be looking for people that have experience in visualization tools like, I don't know, Power BI or Tableau or MicroStrategy, like for business intelligence purposes. Usually that's what they look for in data engineer roles. Data scientists, it depends of the company, but usually they're going to be looking for people that have a PhD and they have quite a heavy academic background when it comes to mathematics or statistics. But yes, they will want you to have an understanding of how to put all those algorithms or formulas in a software environment. So they will want you to have an understanding of how a software application works, and usually you're going to be using Python or R to do like to work with the data sets. But yeah, usually companies, or they look someone who has a software engineering background that moved into data science, or they will find, or they were going to be looking for someone that comes from an academic background with PhD or a lot of statistical or mathematical experience, who has an understanding of how software development works. Hi, Facundo. Thanks for being here with us today. Happy to answer questions that you might have. But yeah, usually these are the most on-demand jobs in New Zealand. Software engineers, back-end and front-end developers. Usually the most demanded programming languages is C#.NET, Java, Node, PHP, C++, C, Python, and Ruby on Rails. And I know that I have said almost many of the most popular programming languages, but I would say that in that order it's what it's most demanded. First, C#.NET, second, Java, third, Node, fourth, C++ or C, then, fourth, PHP, then C++ or C, and then Python and Ruby on Rails. Front end, JavaScript, of course, with Angular or React, and then third, Vue.js. Mobile, React Native, native iOS, native Android. Xamarin, I didn't mention it before, but that's sometimes you will be able to find job opportunities. Then UX, UI designers, then product owner, business analyst, and data engineers, data science. These are the roles that are on most demand, usually for experienced people. Usually for graduates or people with less than 2 years experience, it's challenging to find a job. Not impossible, of course, but it's challenging. But for people that has 3 years and more experience in these fields, and if you have had experience during 3 years doing a lot of things and being involved in a lot of things, then that's very good experience for here. And when I'm talking about 3 years doing a lot of things, it means that you have had ownership on what you are doing. Doesn't matter if you had 3 or 5. The important thing is that you have had ownership in what you are doing, and you are able to understand why the decisions that were made were made. If you're a software developer and you have 3 year experience, but you have been able to deploy something into production, being responsible for that application in production, and being able to fix the bugs and do all the debugging, and being able to be part of that software development life cycle. If it's 3 years experience, that's very relevant experience. Way more than if someone that has maybe 5 years experience but have had no experience in deploying any application, or not understanding why they have made the decisions they have made. The same for UX UI design. If you have 3 years experience but you have been the person designing the design systems, if you have been the person doing the workshops in the discovery process to understand what needs to be made, and have been doing research and A/B testing and a lot of things, again, doesn't matter how many years experience you have. What matters is what you have been exposed to. So yeah, these are the most demanded jobs in New Zealand currently, I would say in the world, to be honest. Not just in New Zealand, Australia, the United States, Europe. I'm seeing that all these jobs are quite demanded. Probably it's going to change a little bit in other countries compared to New Zealand, but in New Zealand, Australia, and the States, I would say that these are the most demanded jobs. If anyone has a question, please ask me. If not, I'm gonna be finishing the session for the day. Hope it was useful. Feel free to send me a LinkedIn message or send me an email with your questions. If you are not going to be able to be on the Q&A live, feel free to send me questions via email, via LinkedIn. I'm going to answer those on the live Q&A. Still, if you are not going to be able to be there, you can watch the Q&A later on when you have time, on your own time. But yeah, send me questions and I'm going to answer them. And thank you very much for being here with me today. Again, if there's no other questions, I'm going to finish here and see you next Monday. Cool. Thank you very much again for being with me today. See you next week. Bye-bye.